Okay. It's really important that people have some at least common understanding, at least people that I know have some common understanding of this concept of spiritual life. I don't really have a concept that could be described with the word spiritual life. Uh, I my perspective is that life has shallow the surface, a little beneath the surface, a lot beneath the surface, a lot of depth. That's that's my configuration of what you might call a spiritual life, but I wouldn't, because spiritual life would seem to be a compartmentalization of life over here and life over here, and life is all over here. It just exists at different depths. Everything of quality is beneath the surface. You know, Rene Domal in Man Analog says, beware of the surface of things. I agree. The surface of things has to be reckoned with. It has to be recognized. It has to be acknowledged. Its existence has to be acknowledged. But dedication to the surface of things is a corruption and and a limitation of the possibilities of being a human being. So the idea is, the idea from my perspective is to find what's beneath the surface of things, because all common denominators come from beneath the surface of things. You know, what's the difference between uh, black people and white people and yellow people and red people and brown people? Well, if you look at the surface of things, they look different. But if you go beneath the surface of things, it changes. If you go even further beneath, it changes even more. Every meaningful uh, exploration and discovery has always meant humans going beneath the surface of things. So whatever it is you do, it isn't what you do. Is are you dedicated to the surface of it, or are you dedicated to what's beneath the surface of it? Anybody else? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm not much of a letting go person. I don't know that I've ever let go of anything. I've hung on to new things and let go of what was there. You know, like, you know, this exercise that most people avoid. We had one in our playground, which was this long ladder that's horizontal, and you go like this, and it takes a lot of arm strength to do it. And also in the playground that I grew up in, they were metal, so they were not pleasant to grab a hold of. But you never let go of one till you grabbed on the next one. If you let go of one and you didn't grab on the next one, you know where you ended up. And there was not like ecological padding or whatever that stuff was called on the ground. It was concrete. So the idea of letting go is, in my exploration, a distorted concept. You hold on, you find something new that's worth it letting go of what was before. You find something new. I would think a person foolish to let go of what they have until they find something that can replace it, or at least the intimation of something that could replace it. So, in my view, the only thing that can replace the chaos of ordinary life is inner meaning, something of depth about the human condition, about our possibility. That's the only thing. All the rest of things are horizontal. They're equal. You let go of blue because of green. You let go of dollars because of francs. You let go of euros because of rubles. You let go of the city because of the country. You let go of, they're all kind of the same, but inner meaning is different. Inner qualities are different. Human capacity beneath the surface of things is different than all those things on the surface of things. So people are making a big thing now about the election, the possibilities of a woman getting elected, or uh, or whatever. Everybody knows about this current story, or the competition between communism and capitalism, or free trade and and restricted trade. All those things are only relevant if the advantage taken leads a person to quest for inner meaning. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. What's the difference if you live in a communist culture or a capitalist culture and you don't search for inner meaning? It happens to be that in a capitalist culture, maybe there are more possibilities of searching for inner meaning because there's more external freedom for the individual. Maybe. But of course, maybe not, because the carrot that's held out in a capital system is so demanding. You can do what's never been done. You can be rich. You can be famous, like that, which you can't in another system. So whatever the system is, the only worthwhile quest that will take you to something else is the quest for inner meaning. People have said this before, but their interpretations of inner meaning have really never taken them beneath the surface of things. So I would answer every practical question. Will this lead you? Will this decision lead you? Will this choice lead you? Will these options lead you to the possibility of your dedicating yourself to the quest for inner meaning? Okay.
Online, there's Paula has a question.
Go ahead.
Can you say something about the relationship of physical distance to support systems?
Okay. Uh, First, let's address the concept of support systems, which I've repeatedly described. So, support systems have existed historically, but they have functioned in a certain way that should be recognized. Say Hemingway and Scott Fitzgerald were contemporaries and friends, but they never wrote on each other's manuscripts. Never, right? Bach and Telemann were friends, both composers, but they never scribbled notes on each other's thing. Picasso and Matisse were contemporaries, artists, and friends. Never did they ever paint a stroke on each other's painting. So the quest for inner meaning is an individual quest. Support system doesn't mean you get together and you work out inner meaning. You work out inner meaning for yourself, and then you transmit it, you share it, you run it by other people, but you've worked it out for yourself. You write your symphony, you paint your painting, you write your essay, and then you run it by somebody whose opinion or perspective you have regard for, or you think could give you a reflection that's helpful. But you cannot figure out things together. The figuring out process is an internal process. The figuring out capacity is within you, not within yous. Even medical and astronomical exploration has been done by individuals who worked together in the way that I'm describing. So the idea of what that you're on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast has no meaning. I'll write my novel, I'll paint my painting, I'll write my symphony, you do the same there, and then we'll mesh them together if they mesh. We'll get reflections from each other. So your distance, if you need reminders, sit down and write, sit down and write, sit down and write, then you're not an explorer. If you need that kind of kindergarten or elementary school reminders, don't forget about writing your symphony, don't forget about writing your novel, don't forget about painting your painting, don't forget about exploring the nature of negative emotions, exploring the nature of curiosity. Don't forget about that. If you need other people to remind you to do that, you're probably not going to do that anyway, because you'll do it 5 minutes after they remind you, and then you'll forget 5 minutes later. So I see as many upsides to proximity as downsides to proximity. I see proximity can be a huge asset and can be a huge detriment. But the thing that I see and have experienced that is definitely an asset is you paint your masterpiece. Anybody else? Okay.
I just read, we read from the chapter from the Q&A from and it's talking, the question was about, the subject is relaxation, and we're talking about that impressions and insights can enter.
Well, when you say where do you come from, where do they come from? You're asking in a linear sense, in the sense that we say, where do they come from? They come from New Jersey. You know, they come from Petaluma. You know, they come from across the street. They come from inside, outside. You know, there are forces that exist, and without being metaphysical about it, because I don't think that that's an asset, they are. They are there, but they're beneath the surface. They're there when you listen to a song and you get nothing, and you listen to a song and you get something. You know, "'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wade, all mimsy were the borough groves, and the moan rats outgrayed. Snicker snack, snicker snack. The Jabberwock came rustling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came." You know, that's a poem called Jabberwocky, right? But if you really listen and feel that poem, you'll get a mind picture. But what mind picture would you get if I say I was in the I was in the woods and the trees were brown and I list everything about the trees. I list so much about the trees that you don't get a mind picture. I defy your mind picture because of the detail of my description. You say, "Oh, I know what they're talking about," but you don't feel what they're talking about because they gave you too much. Because the work of interpretation is internal, it's personal. It's personal. It's your interpretation. It's not the interpretation. So the idea, you know, the term, in Spanish, escondido debajo, which means
Hidden below.
hidden beneath. Yes, hidden below, hidden beneath. Right. In English, if I say hidden beneath, you would finish the sentence and say the rubble, right? In an earthquake, That's the only time you'll ever hear hidden beneath, right? There was an earthquake and they were hidden beneath the rubble. That's it. You understand? There is no concept of hidden beneath. Interpretation, it comes from hidden beneath. You're listening to music and you allow it to go in. You don't interpret it in that moment. Oh, that's this, that's this, that's the singer. Too loud, too soft. I like it, I don't like it. You let it come in, and then you find the internal interpretation. Maybe you have to be a little stoned to do it. Maybe you have to be a little between activities to have that happen for you. But it is a natural thing to happen if you can withstand the pressure to interpret immediately, because your interpretation immediately will be on the surface. But whatever you read, you see a movie, you let it come into you. You don't say, "Oh, I know that actor. I don't know that. This is this. This is that." And maybe that happens, but you let it go by. But you let the impression come into you, and then the interpretation comes out of you. And with that power, transmission can be significant. Without that power, you're dealing with very, very surface energy, which is not potent enough to affect. So the idea is everything you've learned from me is an exploration of getting beneath the surface, of impressions coming into you, and you're allowing something in you that's new, that's not the old story, that's not, I know that, I've said that, I have to make this impression, I have to remark that I've been there, I've done that. But you let the things come into you. You know the enemy there is I know, I feel, I like, I don't like, I prefer, I don't like, that's right, that's wrong, whatever it is. Imagine if you let these impressions that are coming to you now into you. Because there is a beneath the surface of things where you can watch a movie and then you can watch it again and then you can watch it again and go from, yeah, that was nice. I really like movies with such and such in it. And then you go to another surface and another surface, another surface, and it becomes your interpretation gets to be so far beneath the surface of things that when you talk about it, people think, wow, I got to watch that movie. Not, oh yeah, I saw another movie that with about that story. Anybody else? Okay.
But if I would put this in a nutshell, and I would love to hear you talk about a little bit that it came clear to me. It's like if trees put off oxygen, it's like something they give back to the world. They absorb and then they give back. Like, what is human parallel to that? Are we giving anything back?
Well, I don't know who we is. I know I am. You would have to ask for yourself.
Well, I
If
have.
we ask, are we giving anything back? It's like, are we making dinner? Are we going, to someplace after? I don't know this we that you're referring to. Well, that I'm not going to talk about. If you don't know after all this time, then I don't think there's any words that I could say that are going to clarify that question.
I just want to know if I'm right.
There's no right. I can tell you, whatever it is, you're not right. There is no right explanation for something that's beyond the right, beyond the wrong, beyond the true, beyond the false. There is none. The really secret is to get to a place within inside of yourself beyond, am I right, am I wrong, do I see it, do I not see it, is not, but something that goes beyond that, because those those questions always are uh, really good starting points for exploration, but terrible points for conclusion. Conclusions are not needed beneath the surface of things. Beneath the surface of things, they are themselves. When you get to a point where what's the difference between uh, uh, caring about someone and not caring about someone? Well, let's discuss it. No discussion is needed. So beneath the surface of things, no discussion is needed. So what would you like to discuss now? Anything else? Go ahead.
Um, I've had some information of what it's like to what the world is like without me in charge. Like I've got it from here, and it's a heavy lift. I feel like an octopus with 8 arms and one arm's up there, and I'm letting go, but all the 7 are holding on really tight. And I was wondering if you could say something about that that would apply to everyone that we can meet.
Uh-huh. Everyone is entitled to a phase of their life where they're developing a strong sense of self and ego. Everyone is entitled to that. If someone, if a person, and it's not chronological, one doesn't have a certain amount of years to do that, and it has to be done, or it will be done in a certain amount of years, but it does have to be done. A person has to develop through their activity, through their uh, uh, exploration of external exploration, through their travel, through their endeavors, a sense of self that is, I am this, I can do this, I do know this, I am competent here, I like this, I don't like this, I stand for this, I don't stand for this. Everybody is entitled to that. Now, that is not a whole life expedition. It's a partial life expedition. But if it doesn't take place, it will trickle into whatever is possible beyond that. And a person will still want to assert themselves, still want to establish themselves, still want to say, yes, I can do that too. Yes, I'm good at that too. Yes, I know this also. Because the second or the next part of life is disassembling that ego, disassembling that point of self, that self-valuation, that self-esteem, that self-confidence, disassembling that. But not until it's established. So you can see for yourself, if you're paying attention, when you're indignant, when you're embarrassed, when you're disagree, when you feel like you must establish your individuality, that you're not done. And maybe you're not even close to done, but maybe you're close to done. But wherever you are on that cycle of things, of going out and establishing your sense of self and coming back and starting to dissemble it, it's really very simple. The equipment and the strategy and the attributes needed for establishing that sense of self do not match up with the attributes needed for coming home, which requires disassembling that individual ego. So, since we're in this life of almost infinite choices for a lot of individuals, and certainly a lot of the individuals sitting here, then we're probably somewhere in transition. We're not yet ready to give up or start to relinquish that pride. Not quite yet. But we're still not that enamored. We're now not that enamored with that developing more pride. the more establishing that sense of ego. And that's what you're describing. And that period of transition requires incredible patience because I want to be here, I need to be here. I want to be here, I need to be here. I want to be here, I need to be here. But I like it here. But it doesn't feel good here. But I like it here. But it doesn't feel good here. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of something. It takes a lot of recognition of your situation. And so that's what you're describing. There will be some amount of this, and you will not be as pleased with it as you once were. I saw a a picture on the internet of a girl, probably 18, 19 years old, who won the high jump in the Olympics. And it was a video. And you know how they do the high jump? They run, and then they turn around and go over backwards. You know, you've seen it before. They jump, they go over backwards. And so she did, maybe 70, whatever it was. And when she landed and it was clear. She cleared the bar. She was like so ecstatically happy. She almost burst on the thing. And then she ran over to her support system and hugged those people like what she had done is what an orangutan could do without any practice facing forward. But she needed that and she appreciated it and then she loved it. But what if in some number of years she looked at that and through her progression of exploration realized what that was. Yeah, that was nice, like you see for a little baby or a little kid. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. You know, you put the two things together. You know, like that. It's like that. It it doesn't mean anything, but to that person, it's an important thing. Now, what if that person then went on to want to jump higher and higher and higher and higher and win more and win more and win, like some of the athletes do? You know, the tennis players, the golf players, and win another one, be disappointed, and never get to the point where, okay, that was my my period of establishing how great I was, or how good I was, or how unique I was in whatever way I did it. And now I think there's something more. Anybody else? Last one. Go ahead.
Um, I've been, grappling a lot in a lot of moments with some resistance in me, in a way that I'm going against it and trying things, exploring things, including the tools that you've given, and um, I'm starting to develop maybe like a relationship with the avoidance and resistance, the hard stuff that feels like it's actually my best friend, which you probably talked about that in other ways. I think that you have. But
Probably.
yeah, but I'm actually discovering it, and I think something like I'm liking it.
Everybody should be listening to this who has any contact with her.
Yeah.
She likes it. Go ahead.
I'm it's hard and it's so available. It's everywhere. So if I actually want to climb, it's very clear every second, almost every second. Is that I want you to talk about that force, um that that
Whenever, if you have discovered something that's better to hold on to than the argument that you had that I'm okay or whatever it was, then you will begin to let go of that old argument and you will start to depend on a new one. And then other doors will open up to you until that runs its course, and then you will find another think to proceed to, which will allow you to hold on to that, what then will be an old argument, and that's the way it goes. But what you're saying is so uh, basically important that that this thing that you're calling struggle is not a compartmentalized thing. Like you have to go somewhere to struggle. Like you have to go to a retreat or you have to go to certain circumstances. There's always, as I said yesterday, a cliff that you can walk to the edge of, and it might only be this high, but you will refuse to jump off, or you will jump off. That's it. And if you start to jump off the little ones, then you'll and survive and really get a rush, which is I'm alive. Then you will start to increase those jumping off because without that risk, there is no life. Without that forward momentum, there is no life. There is some kind of numb satisfaction, but so much more is possible that I'm saying that that is really such a diminished opportunity, taking of opportunity. But if one recognizes really through the use of the tools, but maybe not even through the use of the tools, through the use of the understanding of the possibilities of life in the moment. What could I say in this moment? What could I do in this moment? Not crazy shit, but something that is a curb that I would not step off, not a cliff that I would not jump off. Because people recognize cliffs. Oh, I couldn't do that. But they do not recognize curbs. And really, life is a sequence of curbs that you will not in your whole life step off. And you don't even know it. Or maybe you do know it and you've veered away so many times that you won't do it. That it's unpleasant, uncomfortable. And then you have stories, it's not a good idea. I couldn't do it now. It should be in the kitchen. It's not in the living room. Or some differentiation which will allow you to stop walking off curbs. This high only. Maybe this high only. But there's a rush to to uh, to taking those kind of quote chances, and that rush is addictive, magnetic, uh, habituating, and you won't go back. Okay, I got nothing else to say.